Hi, I'm Mike Langlois, and I wanted to do a blog today in response to something one of my students pointed out to me. She actually posted a video, a YouTube video, on a colleague of ours that I'd never met before. Her name's Liz Lasky, and she's a social worker in New York. And she published a video called Stuff, although she used an expletive, social workers say. And I took a look at the video, and I was really interested in it. And I think it does a really good job of performing sort of an empathic success for social workers and social work students because it talks a lot about some of the common experiences many people have doing counseling or therapy or social work with the same sort of approach over and over. It also talks a little bit about the limitation of language as one of our basic tools. Social workers and therapists use language often as a primary tool, and there's only so many ways you can say something or convey an idea. And so although a patient may only hear it once or twice over the course of treatment, social workers and therapists are saying it over and over again. And so I thought there was a lot of both useful information in it, but also some humor. But what I thought was even more interesting was the responses people were getting to it. And it was really provocative to the point where I asked my student to talk about something else, and she actually assumed I was going to reprimand her from posting or forwarding that video to me, which was the furthest thing from my mind. But there have been problems in terms of some, feedback that I gather Liz is getting, and there's some question in terms of what it might do to impact her future career search as she looks for a faculty position, and how people in different colleges or graduate schools of social work may actually look upon that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things, and basically under the umbrella concept of the title that you hopefully read, which is, so should social workers or therapists post videos of themselves on YouTube? Now, the fact that I'm actually posting a video on YouTube may give you the idea that I'm inclined to say, yes, absolutely, but that's not true. And I think Liz raises a good question for all of us when she says, did this work out, or is this a good idea, or has this made a lasting impression that I may regret? And the jury's still out on that. I'm glad she did the video because it really gives us the opportunity to look at a lot of things. And one of the things that I would suggest is that the ivory tower needs to understand that social media is part of therapists and social workers' work. And that for the next, however many years as we move through the 21st century, social media is here to stay and YouTube is here to stay. So I wanted to take a look at some of the ways I answer the question, should therapists or social workers post videos of themselves on YouTube, by looking at Liz and also in general, and from at least two perspectives. And the first one I want to look at is the perspective of private practice. So from the perspective of private practice, from a business sense, I think the answer is probably yes in many cases, because in the 21st century, our potential patients want to see us before they see us, hear us before they actually talk to us, and know more about us before they actually are sitting in the room with us. And I think to not understand that as a basic way that how people are looking for healthcare and other forms of services in their life is really to miss the boat. And that the folks that are not going to be looking at posting some sort of video that gives some sense of who they are, I think are going to be self-selecting themselves away from a number of people. Now, maybe they're going to be self-selecting with another group of people, but I know that a lot of times videos are one of the ways people first find their way to my practice and get a sense of who I am before they actually risk coming in and sharing something about their life. So in that way, should therapists post videos of YouTube on yeah, I think that might be a good idea. Now, in terms of clinically and private practice, I think there are a lot of benefits for it. I think it helps a lot of patients hold on to therapists and the therapy between sessions and on vacations. I think it can be a way that you can disseminate information in a general way that many different patients will find useful. But I also want to suggest that there are as many different responses to posting videos as your patients. I've had as many different responses from patients and non-patients to my videos as there are people that are responding. So it's not necessarily that there's one reason that people are actually, one reason or reaction. So I think we need to be careful about that. Now, the other piece of what I thought was interesting in terms of Liz's work is that Liz is a bullying prevention consultant and researcher. And in addition to her private practice, she does work on bullying prevention and tries to help folks with that. And I don't think that we really can understand adolescents' experience of relationships, bullying or not, if we don't understand the way technology has changed how children and adolescents have relationships. Now, I want to be clear that cyberbullying and bullying are not, in my opinion, the same thing. Doesn't mean they're not both problems. It doesn't mean that they're not both concerning. But I try to focus with my work on parents and teachers around, the digital age and digital citizenship, not in terms of necessarily cyberbullying, but more in terms of how to really understand how kids can connect and interact online. Because I think that's really important, and I think that's something that we're all still figuring out. But that's one of the ways kids experience peer relationships. And posting videos on YouTube helps us understand a few things. It helps us understand how technology amplifies kindness and cruelty. It helps us understand the concept of a curated self and how it applies to the people we work with. And I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But to put it in another way, and to use Liz's example, she's put herself out there. She has chosen to put herself out there and has put some thought into it. And as a result, she's now out there. And whether she likes it or not, or it's right or not, that she has now also become an object of public scrutiny. She has opened herself up to public comments and criticism, and has really opened herself up to the amplification of all sorts of responses she might get. So it's understandable, and it makes sense that she's got some questions and maybe some second thoughts about this. I think what's great is that we're having conversations and first and second and third thoughts about this, because technology makes it so easy for the kids and adolescents we work with to post a video of themselves on YouTube in 10 minutes without any sort of thought whatsoever. Now, I've put a little time into some notes on what I want to talk with you about today, but I'm deliberately doing this video in one take. That I'm actually not having anyone direct me, I'm not having any cuts, and this is going to be the product that you see, no matter what I say, if I flub or not. That's the style that works for me, but it's also a way of helping me kind of be mindful of sometimes that's how kids do it. And that kids and adolescents put themselves out there in a very amplified way and may not know. And so social workers and therapists need to understand how easy it is to do that. And one of the ways you can understand how easy it is to do that is actually to try to make a video of yourself. Now, should you post it on YouTube? I'm not sure. But should we get a better understanding of what it means to curate a self? I do think so. Look, what a curated self means, in short, is the public-facing self that we put out there online. And whether we put it out there online spontaneously or in a calculated way, that's how we curate ourself online. And nobody is teaching therapists or social workers how to curate themselves online. And so nobody's teaching kids how to do that as well. And I think in terms of social work and, both clinical and macro, people are our thing. And we need to be on the vanguard of what digital literacy and digital citizenship means, which means we need to know about the curated self, and we need to know how it applies to the people we work with. Okay, so what's the deal with the helmet? You've been very patient. I do know I'm wearing a helmet. I do know it's a little odd for my videos, but here's why I did it. Because it's an example of taking a risk, of putting yourself out there that's going to have an impact. That this may scare certain patients away. This may have all sorts of reactions from existing patients or people that want to book me for a speaking engagement, or my colleagues in the ivory tower. And I have to be willing to take that chance in a calculated way. And hence the reason of wearing something a little goofy. This is going to be memorable. It's also a little goofy. It's risky to be innovative. it's risky to buck the system like Liz did. But the other reason I'm wearing the bike helmet is because I think it's a really good metaphor for what my answer is in terms of should therapists and social workers post videos of themselves on YouTube. I think that taking risks and innovation are the only way we're going to move this profession forward. But I also think you need to do it with a little bit of care. We don't go out on a bike ride every single time imagining that we're going to get in a bike accident. And most of the time we don't. But it's really good to have some caution and exercise some caution. My version of this is that I do talk about or blog about my family. I use the concept of I'm spending time with my family. I'm not specific about what kind of family there is, who are they, how many of them, what our relationships are, because my curated self that faces you all in the public basically says, yes, I have a family. I'm like any other human being on the planet. I have some sort of family. That's not a big disclosure. But I'm going to take care of who I decide to know, what kind of family I have, what constellation of family they are, whether or not I have children, all of that stuff. That to a degree, that's my responsibility to curate it. So do you see where the bike helmet comes in? I'm actually taking some risks, but I'm also being pretty calculated in some ways. And that's the sort of curated self that we as adults can have if we cultivate some observing ego. And that's the sort of curated self we need to help kids understand. So in short, do I think therapists should post videos of themselves on YouTube? Do I think social workers should post videos of themselves on YouTube? Sometimes it depends, and I think we should proceed, but proceed with caution. Do I think that what Liz did was provocative? Yes. Do I think it was innovative? Yes. Do I think it's going to turn some people off? Sure. But I know I'm looking at her blog and I'm paying more attention to some of the things she's doing right now. And I think that if you are like her or me, and you do any work with adolescents or children and peer relationships, that to not educate yourself about what it means to have the ability to put yourself out there online on video, to not understand that this is part of the emerging presence of the next generation, a digital presence, is really to miss out on a lot of really important material. So that's the post for now. I'm going to go off and take my bicycle helmet off. But I wanted you to have a chance to take a look at Liz's video if you have a chance. She hasn't asked me to post it or to plug it. This is totally spontaneous. But the way to do it is to go to lizlasky.com, and that's www.lizlasky.com. So I hope you check it out. Be interested to know what you think. I'm sure Liz would too. And that's it for now. Take care. Bye-bye.